The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Today on BCIT Magazine.
One family shares the story of losing their dog with hopes of helping others avoid a similar situation.
Winter weather has Lower Mainland drivers taking on unfamiliar conditions.
And icy walkways become a greater concern for many senior citizens. Hello and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Gino Kutri.
And I'm Radhika Sigikane.
The City of Vancouver is under assault. Crisis, that is. But city officials have assured the public that said crisis is being taken care of. Our reporter Paulina Wu has more.
Bring it on, winter. The city of Vancouver says it's ready for another deep freeze. After a few days of rain, warmer weather, and salt shortages, Vancouverites questioned the city on its preparedness. Officials say resources are aplenty.
Where in a typical year we would have one supplier. We're currently at about 4 suppliers right now. It's coming from further away. We're using much more salt than we have in past years. We're approaching 10 times now.
Fire Chief John McKierney says fire and rescue services are happy to help citizens by giving away free salt, but residents need to do their part by keeping sidewalks clear.
Not only for their own sake and for the residents in their community, but for the first responders that have to navigate through those sidewalks with their equipment.
Dozens of people have already become volunteered to help clear ice and snow. However, if residents still find that there are areas that need special attention, they are asked to use the Van Connect app. With the Van Connect app, Vancouverites can not only report ice issues, they can sign up to help clear ice and snow, as city bylaw requires all sidewalks to be cleared by 10 a.m. Paulina Wu in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
With cold weather lingering around Metro Vancouver, you may have topped up your car's antifreeze. But have you considered how it can affect your pet? Hannah May Nassar has more on how chemicals like antifreeze can be lethal to man's best friend.
She was a miniature schnauzer.
Ben Nye and his family learned firsthand just how dangerous antifreeze can be after losing their 8-year-old dog just last month.
When you visit a dog at the vet, when this happens, like her skin is completely just dried up. Like she wasn't able to absorb any moisture because her kidneys have failed.
Just hours after going on a walk, Sesame started to show unusual symptoms and was taken to the vet. Just a day later, a toxicology report found traces of antifreeze in her system, and it wasn't long after that before her condition got worse. Primarily used as an engine coolant, antifreeze can be seen in garages and homes everywhere. And as experts point out, not properly storing it or cleaning up spills can have serious consequences.
It causes crystals to form in your kidneys, and then you go into kidney failure, and that's where it's lethal.
Armstrong says most coolants are sweet, which is why many canines enjoy the taste. It's a race against time once a dog has ingested the deadly chemical.
If you get them after 12 hours, the prognosis changes from fair to good to grave, which means like a very low percentage will survive.
Always keep an eye out for any loose liquids or puddles, and call your local vet if you think your pet's eaten something they shouldn't have. After all, it could save their life. Hannah May Nassar in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
We are now joined by reporter Hannah May Nassar. Hannah, what should dog owners look for to identify if their dog has consumed antifreeze?
Yeah, well, Dr. Armstrong says the first few things that you might notice in your dog are similar to when you get drunk. So dizziness, staggering, vomiting, even diarrhea. But what you really need to look out for here is that at the 12-hour mark, usually your pet might seem to be fine, but Armstrong says that that's usually when things take a turn for the worst and can lead to kidney failure, which is irreversible.
So what are some treatment options?
Yeah, so Dr. Armstrong says that some dogs can go through dialysis, but unfortunately it's not readily available everywhere, and it can cost up to tens of thousands of dollars. And even then, after going through treatment, lots of dogs don't make it. But again, it is a case-by-case basis. Back to you.
Learning the rules of the road can be hard on normal conditions, but with recent snowfall, even more challenges arise. Amy Quinton has more.
Vancouver drivers aren't used to this. Ice and snow continues to be a problem on streets all over the Lower Mainland. Over the last month, ICBC has reported high numbers of claims calls.
Because of weather and fog and poor visibility and darker days, we do see an increase in crashes. Coupled that now with December being a very snowy month, it's no surprise that we saw an increase in calls to our dial-a-claim.
And has forced new drivers to postpone getting licensed.
Some people have chosen not to take their road test on the particular days that they had booked, and so we did see that particularly in December.
Local driving instructor Shabazz Munshi has seen a drastic decline in his business.
These extreme conditions have been a big decline in business over the last 2 months. It's the slowest we've seen in the last 4 to 5 years.
But Munshi wants his students to take the opportunity to learn how to drive in the ice and snow.
We actually encourage students to come out and drive in these weather conditions because we're not sure if Vancouver's going to have them again next year. And it essentially prepares them for the road. Our job as instructors in a driving school is to make sure that we prepare our students for the worst.
ICBC hopes this year's challenging conditions will have a positive impact on drivers.
Really, it's about confidence and getting that experience, but people are getting some experience in winter driving now, so maybe with the next bout of snow and slush, we might see different dial-a-claim volumes, or people might just sort of self-edit and not drive at those particular times.
Are these both drivers and the city alike are learning to cope with the prolonged winter conditions as they continue to plow side streets and back lanes. Amy Quinton in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Living on the West Coast, earthquake preparedness is always on the back of our minds. But what do you do when the big one hits when you are on the road? Emergency Management BC has some tips to keep you safe.
Take a look at what's around you. As soon as it's safe to do so, pull over, stop, turn off your car, and put on the emergency brake. You want to avoid parking around anything like overpasses. You don't want to be under an overpass, on a bridge, or near power lines.
Miller adds some essentials to have for this weather are a blanket, warm clothes, flashlight, and first aid kit.
BC Hydro has offered to help its customers pay their higher than normal heating bills during Vancouver's cold streak. Customers can pay the company back over a span of 6 months.
Members of a BC First Nation have launched a federal court challenge against the proposed Pacific Northwest LNG project in the province's north coast. Leaders say the project will destroy the already depleted salmon populations in the region.
Coming up next on BCIT Magazine.
What you need to know about how the increase in property assessment values may affect your finances.
And prospective teachers have a new hope after the province announces 1,000 additional teaching positions.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This month, homeowners are discovering that their property assessments have risen by as much as 50% in BC. Our co-producer Nathan Hetherington sat down with BCIT financial expert Chris Crissot to talk about how homeowners and renters can can get the finances in check in light of this spike.
Thanks, Chris, again for joining us today.
No problem.
It's really
My
appreciated.
pleasure.
So if you could talk to us a little bit about how that property assessment value has actually increased significantly. How should people try to start planning financially to help mitigate any things that might pop up?
That's a great question, and I'm always encouraging students, even in their late teens, to say you have to start planning for your first home purchase, especially if you're going to have to do it on your own. So it's establishing a plan, and once you put it on a piece of paper, you take a look at the markets and you see how much is it going to cost to enter the market. Make a plan, put it on paper, have a savings plan, and you'll find that if you commit to that plan, or you make a commitment to yourself, you find spending in other places may change. Also, another thing to think about when you're planning for it is maybe evaluate wants and needs. We all kind of have something that we want, but what do I need? Maybe consider other areas of GVRD that you might not be familiar with. I know I did. The rent to buy decision depends on how much your rent's costing you, and then you have to compare it to what would a mortgage be and what were the expectations on rates. Now, there's arguments on both sides. Unfortunately, rents have been going up dramatically, and it depends. It's the correct answer. It's a property by property basis. Some properties would be much less attractive from a financial perspective to buy than to rent, and then some other properties may be compelling to buy. So it's a case by case. What you should talk to is a professional that can help you, financial planner, and maybe make some connections with realtors.
And so what are some challenges people encounter?
If the wants exceed the needs and you end up buying maybe more property than you need in the location, maybe a more desirable location, there's trade-offs. And the trade-off is maybe it's out of your affordability range and other things are going to suffer. So you buy a property a little bit out of your range and you no longer can save for retirement. Or the worst case is that you actually have to incur debt to make your day-to-day needs. So you're going to have to balance a trade-off. And if the individual is having a hard time figuring that out, they could talk to a financial planner to help them find out what's that sweet spot that they can afford. Because it's just a trade-off. It's a trade-off between my home, and there's going to be a lot of costs associated, not just a mortgage, and homeowners know that, versus what am I forfeiting?
Awesome. Well, thanks again for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
In addition to the increase in property assessments, the BC government has raised the homeowners grant threshold to $1.6 million. Finance Minister Mike DeJong says this increase is expected to cost the province more than $12 million a year.
Many student teachers are breathing a sigh of relief after the government and teachers union struck an agreement to get 1,000 more jobs for teachers in BC. My co-anchor Radhika Sikakane has more.
Schools across BC will see new full-time teachers hired within the month, giving education students more employment opportunities that have been lacking over the past decade.
It's obviously still uncertain as to where the jobs will be going. I know the Surrey School District, which I'm looking to apply for, is still very crowded. It's a crowded area in the elementary schools and high schools. So I'm a little more optimistic though for having a starting career coming right out and not having to say shift districts and moving to say North Vancouver or up north or a different province altogether.
The deal is a temporary solution by the province to comply with the Supreme Court of Canada decision. The judgment found that the BC government acted wrongly in 2002 when it stripped class size and composition limits from teachers' contracts. The decision provides $50 million in funding to hire up to 1,100 teachers starting this month.
Many schools in the Lower Mainland are overcrowded, especially in developed areas such as Langley and Surrey. The Surrey School District is expected to get about 10% of the funding, hiring between 100 to 150 teachers.
Get them hired.
That's our focus. We're working out the details, as I say, with the Surrey Teachers Association. And then, our challenge has always been mainly around hiring specialist teachers for things like French immersion and courses and specialties. So now we're competing with a lot of other school districts.
This opportunity of new jobs and money and influx going to the system really opens the doors for a lot of other people who are maybe put off by the lack of jobs for teachers out there. So hopefully this can really inspire the passion and desire for people to get into that type of career.
The school districts now have to finalize where these teachers will go, but most will be in their positions by the end of the month. Radhika Siggi-Kane in Surrey for BCIT Magazine.
Let's face it, no one likes shoveling the snow, but skipping this task can be extra hazardous, especially to those with mobility issues, including many seniors. Nicole Chenard has more.
Shoveling your sidewalk is not just the neighborly thing to do, it is also the law. A law many in the greater Vancouver area have been ignoring. And this has been a cause for great concern for senior citizens like Dan Chapman's mom, Dorothy.
This is my mom. She lives in Chilliwack. She's 93 years of age, still fairly able to get around.
But with icy sidewalks, getting around is a lot harder.
Snow is a problem because her mobility is affected. She can't walk without a walker, and so going outside sort of ends with snow.
The Chapman family uses care aides to help look after their mom, but when health workers can't drive because of the winter conditions, many seniors are left to take care of themselves, a task many of them can no longer do.
Social isolation is the cause of some of the most difficult health challenges that we face currently. But there's also the basic necessities of life. Think about going out to the grocery store, going out for medical appointments. These are all the types of things that are impacted.
The BC Care Providers Association says everyone needs to step up to make the road safer, and cleaning walkways properly can help prevent accidents from happening.
And if she falls, then she will be in the hospital probably for the rest of her life. She probably can't heal fast enough.
Municipalities are issuing fines to people who don't shovel their walkways, but until they do, sidewalks like this can be extremely dangerous to seniors and people with mobility issues. Nicole Chenard in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
The City of Vancouver has announced the construction of a new seniors' home in the Killarney neighborhood. One resident has been advocating for this for over 20 years. David Matta has her story.
Turn the shovel around. Lorna Gibbs has fought for years to see a special place come together just for seniors.
In the mid-1990s, but me personally, about 2002-03.
So this is a long time coming.
It's been a long project, yes.
Are we lifting it up? And let's dump it. 1, 2. On hand for the celebration were many dignitaries and senior officials representing all levels of government. Many paid tribute to the timeless work of Gibbs.
I would be remiss not to mention a person without whom we really would not be here today, Lorna Gibbs. Lorna Gibbs has been a champion of this project for more than 2 decades, and we thank you and honor your persistence, your passion, your vision, and your leadership.
The $7.5 million center will be a gathering place for seniors, a place that will help seniors in the South Vancouver region stay active and connect with one another.
When completed, the center will be a 10,000 square foot facility with half a dozen meeting rooms, washrooms, reception, office space, lounge with a fireplace, an elevator, and a kitchen.
After more than 2 decades, Lorna Gibbs' dream has finally become a reality. The complicated bureaucratic process is now over, and the breaking ground can begin. This is David Matta in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
After the break,
New Year's resolutioners head to the gym.
and SFU sits atop the league standings thanks to a local score.
Standby graphics, ready camera one.
If you want to experience the fast-paced world of news,
today on BCIT Magazine, striking,
make magic on a movie set,
frame,
and action.
Or bring your creative ideas to life. BCIT's hands-on training will get you started. BCIT Television and Video Production. Your possibilities start here.
The most rewarding thing for me has been the relationships I developed in the program, both with instructors and classmates.
My sense of confidence never been higher. I mean, this program's offered great opportunities to be in real world, real industry situations, and being in those moments and knowing I can contribute, I can do this.
It's exciting to be in this industry and to meet lots of great people and to make amazing friends.
BCIT Broadcast and Online Journalism, realizing your potential.
Jam Theatricals invites the public to see what all the noise is when they present Stomp from January 13th to 15th. The 8-member troupe will use unconventional percussion instruments like brooms and garbage cans to fill the stage with magnificent rhythms. Chinese New Year's falls on Saturday, January 28th this year. There will be a number of community events in celebration of the Year of the Rooster. The Chinese New Year Parade will return for the 44th time on Sunday, January 29th. Vancouver's Global Game Jam is one of the world's largest. Festivities will run from January 20th to 22nd, taking over a giant portion of UBC's atrium.
Science World invites high school students to partake in a day of science, technology, and engineering. The event is a valuable opportunity for students to meet with professionals who work in a variety of fields and is free to all. Cool.
With every new year comes the resolution to get back in shape. My co-anchor Gino Kutri stopped by the BCIT gym to see how people are coping with the New Year rush.
Julia Kubik is a third-year nursing student at BCIT who works out at the gym every day before class. As a nursing student, Kubik naturally cares about her health and wellness and follows a strict workout routine to reach her fitness goals. Just like every January, the gym is packed with resolutioners promising themselves to get back in shape. For Kubik, it can be frustrating.
Definitely a few more people who come into the gym after New Year's, and it does affect my workout as I already have a program, and a lot of people, they're new, they haven't done the gym before, and so they're not really sure what to do, so it kind of slows me down.
The gym still encourages newbies to get in there and pull their own weight. And if they're nervous about making the jump to the gym, the staff is there to help.
If you're a first-time user at BCIT, we have full staff weight room attendants, and they can take you on a tour and show you how to use some of the machines and what sections are. We also have a new personal training program, so you can hire a trainer to get an individualized program. We have a buddy system, so you can pair up with someone who does come to the gym, and then they can kind of walk you through it. So we have a lot of staff ready to help you.
Embry says even with the influx in new students, the gym attendance is generally consistent through the year, meaning your arrival time is key when looking for a preferred machine. Gino Kutri in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine. The second half of SFU's hockey season begins with a road trip to visit their rival. Justice Doucette has a story of the local player who's leading their team to the top of the standings.
18 players on the Simon Fraser University hockey team grew up in the Lower Mainland, including leading goal scorer Mitch Crisanti. Crisanti has scored 9 goals in just 13 games this season and says that offensive production is exactly what he hopes to bring to the team.
I just try to score as much as I can. I know that sounds simple, but that's really just my goal every time I step out on the ice for a game is to contribute offensively.
SFU Clan team captain Brandon Tidy acknowledged Crisanti's role in the team's 10-2-1 record this season.
Mitch's been lighting up this year. He's got a wicked shot, and we knew he was going to be a really good player for us. Last year, unfortunately, he couldn't play the first half, and he kind of got thrown into it second half. But being able to start from the start of the year this year, he's found his stride.
Crisanti missed the first half of the 2015-16 season, but trained hard in the offseason and gained a lot of confidence.
When he wants to be, he's an offensive threat. Every time he touches the puck, he can shoot the puck. He skates well. He's a big body. I think last year not playing the full year, it's always tough mentally, and the kids find it tough to jump back into a roster spot right away. But I think he's done a good job to work hard during the offseason, and then he, came into camp ready to go.
Like his coach, Crisanti reiterated that his confidence is high after playing stronger teams at the start of this season.
Yeah, we had a good start. We played really well against the Division I teams in Alaska and UBC. I think that gave us a lot of confidence playing against the teams in our league. So I think we've had a pretty good start so far and looking for more success in the second half.
Crisanti looks to help the Clan capture their first league championship since the 2010-2011 season. Justice Doucette in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
We're now joined by our sports reporter, Justice Doucette. Justice, how's the team feeling about their first half of the season?
Well, they're really excited to be sitting atop the standings, and when I talked to head coach Mark Coletta, he said anytime you can pick up 10 wins in either half of the season, you have to call it a success. But they know that their work isn't done yet, as they're back in action this weekend for the first time in 5 weeks as they head to take on their rival Selkirk College Saints, who sit just 1 point behind them in the standings.
So, are the playoffs on the horizon?
Yeah, there's still a long way to go, but you have to think so. SFU has a shot at redemption this season as they look to end Selkirk's run of 4 straight league titles. SFU lost in the finals in 2 of those seasons, but this weekend will have a big impact, as if the Clan can go and steal a game or 2 on the road in Castlegar, that'll create some separation atop the standings and some breathing room down the stretch. Back to you.
The Clemson Tigers upset the Alabama Crimson Tide in the NCAA Football Championship. In the 9 seconds, quarterback Deshaun Watson threw a touchdown to give the Tigers the 35-31 victory for the first national championship since 1981. Watson will now enter the NFL draft.
22-year-old Dylan Roof has been sentenced to death for the murders of 9 black churchgoers. Roof self-identifies as a racist, and during his final arguments, he said he had to carry out the shootings. Roof has asked for life in prison, but showed no remorse during his sentencing. If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitbroadcastnews.ca.
I'm Gino Kutri.
And I'm Radhika Siggi-Kane. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of BCIT Magazine. We now leave you with more from the SFU's men's hockey team practice here in Burnaby.